Okay.
Hello, hello, hello.
It's actually the first time. Go ahead. Sorry, Kristina.
What were you saying?
I was saying this is the first webinar I've actually been a part of on Zoom.
See people rolling in, so I'll give everyone a minute or two to kind of join.
Haj, I like your background, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It popped up. At first, I was like, is he in a gym?
That's what I thought.
Oh, I'm in a gym. That's not what I was trying to come get across.
No. Then I took a look at it and actually saw what it was. I just got this nice plain gray background, so you can't see my disheveled kitchen behind me.
Same.
You don't want to see my bookshelf. My bookshelf. I was like, I got to do something.
Awesome. Welcome everyone who is joining. Give us maybe another minute for people to join. We're excited to be hosting this Atlanta Education Expo and looking forward to a really amazing kind of kickoff to the week and conversation with some really amazing organizations. So we're happy for you, all of you who will be joining live. Also, if you are joining us live, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. So there will be a Q&A at the end. So you can begin asking your questions using the Q&A menu option or in the chat, and we'll just begin collecting those and have them ready once we go into the Q&A portion of the panel discussion.
Kristina, I expect some hard-hitting questions during the open discussion.
I have hard hitters. No, that's so great.
Is it tea or coffee?
It's coffee for sure. Definitely coffee for me. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. Definitely want to make sure that we are respecting everyone's time, all of our attendees and our panelists. We know you guys are, busy saving the world, and so we don't want to take away too much of your time. But welcome to our first Atlanta Education Expo live conversation. My name is Kristina Smith-Newton, and I'm the founder and CEO of Hope for Youth. I always like to share that our street name is Hype, so you can refer to us as Hype as well. We are also the official co-host of the Atlanta Education Expo, so we're really excited to be a part of everything that's going to be going on this week, along with Tara, and we have, Tara's founder, Ian, on the panel today. So
hey.
This morning's discussion is all around school management systems. So we have 3 organizations that have tools and management systems that educators and schools and school districts can use. And so we'll be learning a little bit about what those are. As a reminder, we will be having these live conversations throughout the week, every day, one at 11:30 Eastern time and one at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So those will be happening throughout the week. But if you can't make it for the live session, you as an attendee and as a registrant will also have access to the recordings afterwards. So we want to make sure that you are, keeping track of the different conversations that are going on, but also know that if you can't make any of them live, go back onto the website and go and listen in on some of the really insightful conversations and informative conversations that we're going to have this week. Another reminder is that this week we will be sharing all about like what's going on and the agenda on our Instagram and social media. And so as you are attending sessions, as you are learning really cool things, we want you to participate in the social media discussion as well. Use the hashtag ATL Expo. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat. So if you want to engage with us on social media, and really share about, you know, your experience in our inaugural Atlanta Education Expo, make sure you use that hashtag ATL Expo on social media. So I mentioned that we do have 3 panelists, Haj Womack from Innovative School Tools, we have Candy Yu from OPUS, and Ian Cohen from Tara. For Tara EdTech. So for today's discussion, we're going to give each organization a chance to first kind of share about who they are, what their organization is, and how they make their tools available to you and your school. So we are going to start with Innovative School Tools. Each organization will have about 5 minutes to share who they are and what they do, and then we'll move on to panel discussion, and we will close it out with Q&A from the attendees.
Okay, thank you and welcome everyone. How are you all doing today? It's a pleasure to be here for sure. So I'm truly excited here. Well, first off, I'm Haj Womack, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Innovative School Tools, and we made Teachers in Touch so that we can do the work for you, and so you can get back to teaching. So, but the first thing is, what about us? Who are we? Well, first off, we're veteran educators. We've been teachers and administrators for well over 30 years, and we experienced schools up close and personal in those 30 years, and we saw how complex a school is. School is just not a one-row horse and pony, and that's it. It's a really complex, interwoven workflows. So our mission is to help teachers, educators, and principals to go ahead and do more for our students. But the key thing is without the burnout. We want to help improve those teaching and learning conditions, as well as increase the support and accountability. But what's really key that I really want to emphasize is without the burnout. So that's very, very important to us. So what's the problem? Let's think about it. An average middle school, high school teacher teaching 100+ kids every single week. That is a lot of work in and of itself. But the paperwork that comes along with it, you know, you're talking about attendance, progress monitoring, calling parents, behavior, all of those things, and then some. Did I say grade papers? So all of those things add 56 work days per year to our calendar. But without the pay. You don't get paid for those extra 56 work days. So there goes work-life balance, right? And our teachers start to suffer. And when they suffer, who suffers next? Our students. And then of course, when teachers and students are suffering, our schools fail. So it's very important that we pay attention to our teachers. So what's the solution? We tried to find one. We searched high and low, and since we didn't find one, we decided to create Teachers in Touch, which is a web-based platform where schools can easily complete all of these workflows, saving time, at least 5 hours a week, stress and burnout, and makes it to where you have real-time data to improve your instructional support program, as well as accountability. So what exactly do we do and how we do it? Well, we optimize 4 major workflows. What are those 4? We make it easier for schools to manage student behavior, increase student attendance, improve parental engagement, as well as progress monitoring. So those are the 4 main ones that we work on currently. And we have a proprietary algorithm that actually does so much more in the background, but guess what? It's a secret sauce, so I can't share it right here, right now. But the bottom line is that we do so much more behind the scenes for you. So we're almost like your personal assistant for teachers and educators. So our target schools are all under-resourced schools, as well as schools that are serving diverse populations, ESOL, students with disability, economically challenged, and others. So it's all types of schools that need this, but these are our targeted ones. But just want to let you know you can get in touch with us by calling us at 855-639-4478. Though we're here locally, but that's our phone number. You can reach us. Our website is at goteachersintouch.com. And you can reach us on Twitter and Facebook at Teachers in Touch, and on Instagram with Innovative School Tools. Okay, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Haj. That was great. Thank you also for sticking within our 5-minute time frame. Really appreciate you for that. We are now going to have Candy Yu from OPUS.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks to the panel for having me as part of your panel. And this is really exciting. This is actually our first virtual conference, so very excited to meet everyone. My name is Candy Yu. I'm the co-founder and the CEO for OPUS Education Solutions. I'm also owner to Avalon Accounting and CFO Services. And the reason OPUS was born is because we're trying to find a financial solutions for better quality of school operations, particularly in charter school space. Avalon Accounting right now is the largest financial back office provider in the state of Georgia for charter school industries. And because we have worked in the charter school for over 15 years now and realized that 80% of the charter school failures particularly are contributed to finance and operation oversight issues. So about 5 years ago, I was in an attempt trying to find a automated accounting solutions to provide financial oversight to help Avalon core operations to improve our efficiencies, to improve our quality controls. And of course, end of the marketing research, we have identified there's not a such product exist in the market. Therefore, accountant like myself had decided to wear a big giant hat, which is developing this software called OPUS Charter Solutions. So our OPUS design is really, as Hachi has mentioned earlier, most of the folks are overwhelmed. You always burned out on a constant basis. So our software design is really focused on 4 different areas. First of all, most importantly, is how to save time, therefore to save money for your busy life schedules, and at the same time, not compromising a quality, but at the same time improving the qualities and improving our efficiencies. We believe running a school as a school leader is like a music conductor. When you are doing your music performance, your performance end result is your students' performance. But it evolved with so many different areas from academic operations and finances. You have your instruments. You not only have to make sure your instrument functional, but at the same time, you also have to make sure your staff who are utilizing instruments are capable and well-trained. So we envision our software almost like a tool to help you to create a synergy, create harmonies on your operations in whole. So our software are break down by 4 different modules. Our module number 1 is Act 1. I know right now everyone's going through tax season, and I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with the concept of TurboTax. TurboTax concept is anyone who does not understand tax returns now can use a guidance system to guide you through, so you'll be able to have a quality tax return. So our system is designed based on the same concept. Our Act 1 is targeting with petition charter schools. Our system will guide you through to address the questions that you probably don't even know existed at that stage. And let's say if you'll be able to use our guidance system, successfully get approved for your charter contract, now you actually be able to go to pre-planning. And this applies not only for charter school, but for any schools or districts that's planning stage when you have a school opening. This is kind of an automated email notification system that will help you to guide you through to hit your target timelines, not only just mandate target timelines, but based on Avalon's actual practicality experience working with school in this stage, we'll be able to provide you a practical timelines. And this module is somewhat automated that you just simply need to enter your timelines, and the email notification will send out for all your users within this platform. And our module number 3, it's Act 3. This is a core reason OPUS was born. This is where we provide financial oversight. We have 3 components in this oversight. One is we allowed you to enter all your board information. As a school, you have a governing board and your board transition constantly. One of the challenge we have experienced in the past is how the board has been having issues transition with the tool. So our platform provides you a tool to transition with the board. And the second component is our system actually automatically sync with your QuickBooks system, Sage products. So now you actually be able to automatically pull your actual financial data in whatever the chart of account you're currently working in. And this system will automatically help you to convert your financial report to a compliance report. Both your D46 report, your federal grant management reports, your annual physical reports, financial matrix report, the system does automatic conversion for you. And the last piece is we also focus to provide automated solutions to help you to complete your budget. Our system not only help you to build a budget, but at the same time also help you to convert your budget into scenarios and etc. And the last module for our system is, of course, dealing with your renewal and replications. So imagine your information for your school from the board, from the budgets, from the financials already within existing in our Act 3 existing module. Now, when you getting ready to renew and replicate your existing schools, it's just one click button, everything will go smoothly. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, this system is very industry specific. Because there's not a single system out there. So we are one of the kind. And so one of the things worth to mention is our system actually will qualify under a federal grant program called Charter Startup Programs, a short abbreviation CSP grants. So if you are recipients for CSP grants, the system will help you to utilize the funds to pay for the systems. My contact information is as such. And just feel free to let me know if there's anything we'll be able to provide you with. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Candy. And for those of you who might be just joining, as a reminder, you can use the Q&A function in Zoom or the chat to ask questions of our guests and our panelists, and all of their information, all of our panelists and partners who are a part of this Expo, all of their information is available online at educationatl.com. I think that's the website. So you can find everything there. Last but not least, we're going to have Ian Cohen from Tara EdTech to share about their product.
Yes, thank you, Kristina. I'm going to use the first 20 seconds of my time just to say to everybody, and also thank Candy and Haas for being a part of this. It's honestly this started months ago when we started working together on putting this all together. And one of the main goals was to try to highlight the fact there are a ton of Atlanta-based companies and organizations that are starting up and solving some really critical problems for schools. And right here we have 4 founders and CEOs and executive directors presenting just that. And I think we're all solving different problems that are part of the same fundamental challenge. And so using that as sort of a way to queue up what I'm going to talk about with Tara is this idea that there's so many things happening in a school, and it's really hard to keep high level. And so Tara, from our perspective, I just got a concerning message from Zoom. I'm sorry, my computer's getting a little wonky right now. Am I still with you? You guys can hear me okay? Yep, okay. All right, so if I pop out, that's what happened. Just move on without me. I'll find my way back in. So Tara, we focus on the instructional process. And so did an amazing job of outlining all the challenges teachers face and all the administrative burdens, all of the different workflows that teachers have to go through. And we really want to focus on the teaching cycle itself. And so as sort of setting the scene, we view the teaching cycle for teachers as something they do every single day on repeat. They plan a lesson, then they obviously go in and teach that lesson. A lot of teachers are teaching 2 to 3 different subjects. So they might be teaching world geography and American government, or algebra and trigonometry. And then ideally after those lessons happen, they're reflecting, whether it's on paper or just in their head, how did this go? Was it effective? Let me review my data. Let me listen to students. But then they're on to the next one. And it's sort of this perpetual survival cycle of trying to keep up. And from a school leader's perspective, you essentially have 50 different classrooms with this same cycle going on repeat every single day. And so our question really came down to, how do schools monitor and support these cycles? We know that teachers have a tough time keeping up. We also know their performance is literally critical and fundamental to the success of a school and the students within it. And so what we wanted to design was a tool and platform that can centralize these different actions that teachers take and make it a lot easier to support them while they plan, support them while they teach, and support them after they teach. And so Tara, simply put, is lesson planning, observations, and teacher reflections all in one place. So what you see in front of you is a screenshot of our lesson planning canvas. And this is for schools that are not using pre-made curriculum. If you're using a curriculum like Eureka Math or EL Education or other ones that are readily available out there, our system works just as well with that. But for teachers who are planning from scratch, they have an interactive canvas that provides them with engagement strategies, which I think because of the pandemic, we've learned how important engagement really is. And it makes it really simple to drag and drop in activities. And you can also adjust expectations for your teachers. Veteran teachers might just have to give you a high level. Here are the activities we're going to do. Here's the standard, and they can move on. Whereas you're,
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that now. Okay, let me try to reshare this. Apologies for that. Can you see it now? Is this working better? Of course, I'm the one experiencing technical difficulties.
No, we see, we just see that you've started screen sharing.
Okay, all right, here we go.
While Ian is getting some of that stuff figured out, I will just share with the audience my expectation of you guys to be engaged in the chat, ask questions in the Q&A as teachers and educators and education administrators who have all been struggling to keep students engaged virtually all year long. My expectation is that you guys will definitely utilize the chat to engage with one another and with us. Let us know who you are, where you're coming from, and to ask questions so that we can make sure that we make this panel and this experience meaningful for you and everyone else who's attending. So Ian, are you ready? You want to go ahead?
Oh, yes, I will. I'm going to make this work. I apologize for that. Like I have any control over my computer. All right, let's give this one more go. I'll just start from right where I left it off. And if it works, it works. If not, we can move on. But I appreciate y'all bearing with me and all the technical stuff. All right, so we're going to try one more time here. This is not even the screen I wanted to pull up. So, wow. All right. So what I was saying while I figure this out, I'm going to pitch on the fly here, was, again, we're just, at the end of the day, we're trying to centralize lesson planning, observations, and reflections, and also make that a practice that actually builds on itself and allows teachers to keep track of how they're growing, what feedback they're getting over time. So I'll try to share the screen once more just so you can see it. If not, you can always go and check out our videos on YouTube and at edtech.com. I'm assuming you guys can see the screen, hopefully. I closed out my 100 other tabs. So this is the lesson canvas, which I already spoke about. For observations, coaches and administrators get a single dashboard that brings together what plans are happening, how the reflections are going from their teachers, and what the observations are looking like. It also tells them what teachers have turned in their lessons, which teachers are still incomplete. And so it just makes it a lot easier to monitor and support teachers. And then for a teacher, after their lesson's done, just like you get out of an Uber ride and do a quick little how was the ride, they also will get a reflection like this once they're complete with their lesson, which allows them to keep track of how it went and also note to themselves and to their coaches, hey, this is the stuff that I want to improve on next time to make professional development that much easier. At the end of the day, just like Candy and Haj mentioned, we're all trying to save time and money here. Time is the most valuable resource for teachers. Some of the stats Haj used were way better than the stats I was going to present. So thank you, Haj, for that. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is make it so you can save your teachers. We all know that teacher shortage is a problem. What Haj and Candy mentioned is a huge part of it as well. And so by saving your teachers time and money, and also knowing what's happening every day from these reflections, we think it's going to be a lot easier to support them and keep them around. We know teacher support is one of the fundamental reasons they end up leaving. So if we can provide that support in an elegant and seamless way, we think it can go a long way to solving that problem. And with that, I will stop my screen share and never share it ever again. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, so much. So we're going to jump into our driving question for today's panel. And I think it's so appropriate because personally, as a computer engineer, I understand how useful technology is and can be in making our lives easier, making our work easier, providing us with data and information. And we're moving in this technology, age where everything incorporates technology. However, you all talked about some of the issues and some of the things that teachers go through in terms of being overwhelmed, not having time, having so much work to do, and your tools are here to support them. However, sometimes schools and teachers are hesitant to take advantage of technology and tools that they're not accustomed to because they feel like they have too much on their plate already. It's a steep learning curve. This is just one more thing, to maybe learn or, to take advantage of. So how do you kind of go about demystifying the role that technology plays in education and in the classroom and really help teachers understand how useful your tools and your systems and technology can be in supporting their overall goals? And so I'll start with Haj to respond to that question.
Just quickly, 2 points. One is that we are educators first. We're not some outside tech person saying, oh, let's take this and apply it to something that you're trying to do, and we don't understand it fully. Where everything that we've seen so far today has been not just, oh, here's a lesson plan template, or here's just a way to send a text message. No, it's the whole workflow that goes along with it. And how did Ian know that? It's not that he was an outside person, he was an educator. How did Candy know that these different pieces are for accountability, for accounting, et cetera? Because she was an educator. Same here. We're educators, and therefore we saw the need, the problem first, and said, now let's build a tool around it. So we have to share that with with schools, educators that said, hey, we were in this with you and we're still in it with you. So that's the key thing that I feel that would help. One of the key things that I feel would help demystify technology, and that, hey, don't be so hesitant with this. We're not an outsider looking in, but we're inside saying, hey, let's make this together as far as. The second part of that was to be clear on the training in actual use case scenarios. So it can't be, well, what if, no. There's the middle school teacher teaches 100 kids. We know that, you know what I mean? How does that impact their life? And that's actual use case scenarios so that we can train and support them in there. So it said, hey, and build platforms and solutions that address the real situation that our teachers are experiencing. So those are the 2 things I would suggest.
Yeah, awesome. I think one of the first things that you mentioned is really important. Some of the work that we do at Height is sharing how representation matters and how it's really important to relate to our girls by letting them know that we were in their same shoes, we represent their background, their experiences. And I think that you shared the same thing. Representation is not only about like racial or gender makeup, but it's about representation of experience. And so you all kind of coming from the experience in the classroom as educators helps to inform how you create your tools and what you include in your use cases and things of that nature. And it also helps to build that kind of baseline foundation of trust in beginning to work with you and use your tools and systems.
That's right.
So thanks, Haj. Candy, I'll let you respond to the same question.
I think I will echo what Haj has said. And the whole point OPUS was born is to finding the practical solutions. there seems to be, again, when you are from a third party outside looking in, a lot of times you don't understand the practicalities. And with someone with dealing with numbers and dealing with the financial reportings and financial oversight, that's our daily life. So to be able to find a solution that's practical and not just practical in the sense of efficiencies, but practical in the sense of usabilities. As we have gone through so many integrations ourselves, we're working with various different clients in the past, integration for software sucks because it takes a very long time and it requires end user enormous amount of time to involve. So the concept for us developing this is not only making this process efficient, but how to make our end user be able to start using software at the full capacity day one. Not for end users to spend time trying to figure it out, how am I integrating my data in? How do I do this? How do I do that? It's to have more well thought, customized onboarding process, and at the same time also have more customized target trainings, because everybody has a unique needs. Every school is different. To understand what are the functionality out of our software are unique to you, to be able to understand that through the onboarding process, henceforth, by the time when you start using the software, you'll be able to dive in with real life data and start working in the day one without worried about, I need to spend another 3 weeks going through the onboardings. And I think that's the key. Of course, being a mom and being a business owner, technology is essential. If we live in the 21st century, we're not utilizing technologies, well, we're silly. So how to link the technology to be a practical solutions. I think that's the key.
Thank you so much, Candy. Being practical is definitely, you can't overcomplicate your, solutions and your tools, especially if you want to integrate it, not just integrating all the software, but integrate it into the lives of our teachers in our schools and how they operate. So you definitely have to kind of think about the practicality of it. So thank you for sharing that. Ian, I'll let you go ahead and share your response.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, both what Haj and Candy said are spot on. So I guess I'll kind of break it down to what us as developers can do, and then what educators can do as well. I think on the developer side, I think we all need to continue to push ourselves to have higher standards of design and higher standards of user experience. And that starts with exactly what Candy and Haj were talking about, really like getting into the use case. And for the non-technical folks, that's really just sitting down with your users and understanding, okay, how do they actually do this work as of today? If a teacher in our case is planning a lesson, what are those steps that they take? What is that journey like? Because too many times, most tech products don't succeed because they design themselves in a vacuum, and they design themselves not connected with what their users actually need. And education, honestly, is probably a school is one of the most complex systems you can probably design for, because a teacher has to work with 20 to 30 variables of chaos, aka students, every single day. And then all different things are happening around the school. And so I think on us, it's incumbent to really engage teachers as much as possible, to continue to get feedback and to give them iterations so that we can make better user-informed design. And on the educators front, especially from district leaders, but I would argue even down to school leaders at this point, I think that there needs to be a little bit more of a push to try to have some alignment between the tools you're using and some sort of plan. What we found, we worked with Teach for America on a national level over the summer, and we collectively all realized afterwards that we didn't talk enough about what were the different tools that they were all using, and how could we make sure that the flow of how people use them work together. Even if it's not integrating the technology, which agreed with Candy, it can be costly and challenging, and usually isn't what people actually need. They just need to understand when and where to use stuff and make it easy to get there. And so from my standpoint, I think now that we've had more and more technology flood into the space, I think it's going to be incumbent upon district leaders and school leaders to work with folks like us who have been educators and also developing technology to come up with a strategy for how they want to approach this. And then educators, give us your feedback. that's the one thing that we always are looking for. We know there's not a lot of time, and so we're trying to go out of our way to compensate people for that feedback, to make room for it. Because if you don't give the technologists feedback, the tools aren't going to improve the way they need to. And Lord knows that education should have the best tools out there, not the last in line to get the next generation of tools. So I think coordination and collaboration on alignment of a strategy, and then just giving us a lot of feedback and informing our design with user experiences would help us take this to the next level.
And thanks, Ian. One of the things that you shared was, this past year, education has flooded, not education, but technology has flooded, all of our lives, including educators. And that takes me to my next question, which I think Andrew in our chat also mentioned it as well. We've had a year of COVID where we've all had to use technology in different ways. We've all had to learn how we can integrate it into our lives. It's flooded our lives and our world. And so my question is, have you guys, being ed tech companies prior to COVID, have you had to pivot the way that you work or the way that you, reach schools? And kind of my part B is, have you found that getting your tools into the hands of teachers and into schools have become more easier for you to do, or has it become more difficult given that we have all been virtual and utilizing technology more? And I'll let anyone who wants to take it kind of go first.
I think for OPUS, COVID has definitely shifted us tremendously. Initially, our software is designed for largest or small school districts, as well as authorizers directly, not so much the end user for the school user. So when COVID happened, we have to make a strategic shift to allow our software now be able to have a flexibility to allow individual school users at the same time also continue allowed our software to be working with authorizers. So that has changed, but I think the COVID also has opened people's mind about technology a little bit more, particularly in accounting. Years ago, when people trying to do a remote accounting, your answer is no, pretty much so. So with the COVID, people are more open-minded, and that also allowed us to have a better, as Ian mentioned earlier, feedback is important. That also allowed us to be able to gather more feedbacks regarding to our software, to be able to improve the features during our beta testings to get where we are.
Definitely, COVID definitely caused us to pivot, and especially how we handle the business side of getting into schools and things of that nature. Schools are human-based businesses. Everything we do is human. Our product is human. The tools we use, human, for the teachers, right? The educators, and then the middle managers are also human. So we're unlike any other industry where everything we do and touch is as a human-based business. And of course, that means with humans, relationships have to be built. Being able to, and then especially schools, we are in a in-your-face type of business, a word-of-mouth in-your-face type of business. Well, guess what? We couldn't be in your face so much because we are now we're remote. So that definitely caused us to pivot to be more online as far as getting information out. But of course, there goes the other issue. Principals are getting flooded with emails, right? Some don't even make it into the spam, let alone into the trash can. So the whole point is that we really had to pivot and really change some of our strategy as far as getting out to schools in that regards.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at some of the questions that people have been posting in the Q&A, but yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that pivoting has occurred many times. It's just been a flood of resources, and that's a good thing in the long run. In the short run, it's very challenging. And so one of the things that we're working on is curation and trying to make it easier to understand. I think a lot of the resources that are out there, especially on the content side, Candy, Haj, and our tools, we're more on the operational and work management side, but the content is really where most of the resources have appeared. And they are not very well curated, in my opinion, especially because those of us who've taught in under-resourced schools, we know that, I might be teaching 10th grade history, but if I have 30% of my students on a 7th grade level, and then, 3 or 4 students on a 5th grade level. I need to have materials that I can work with, both in format and in actual content. And so too often we just have sort of these wide open databases of things, and they're not, so teachers, spend hours every week just searching for stuff. And so I think a lot of what we need to do going forward is, in addition to improving how the tools actually function, is improving how you're able to curate them. And for us, everything Haj and Candy said, we had experience too. Trying to get in front of people is tough. And it's really, from a principal standpoint, what we're hearing is it's just the uncertainty of it all, right? Mm-hmm. The uncertainty first around when COVID hit, what they were going to do. Is it virtual, in person? What's that going to look like? And then obviously the financial uncertainty of, are the budgets going to get cut? Are they going to get a boost? What's happening at the federal level? What's happening at the state level? And every principal you talk to right now is in a different zone. Some principals are like, yeah, we need new solutions. Other principals are like, there's too much going on. We don't need anything new. And it's really like, you talk to one principal, you've talked to one principal. So I think for us, hopefully we can all just kind of keep on slogging through it. And then hopefully we'll learn some lessons when we come back into in-person learning about what went well and what didn't. I'm excited to have those reflection conversations. Hopefully they'll occur.
Absolutely. May I piggyback on something Ian said? Okay, yeah. Ian just said a lot. What he said, a lot of the things that are out there is the content side, right? And I'm going to use this word, and please, I don't want to get in trouble for it, but that's the attractive side. That's the sexy side. Operations, operations doesn't just wake you up and say, that's what I wanted to do, right? So, but the operations is what support the instruction. With a flawed operation type system, you have problems. So like if the money doesn't come in properly, then how you pay your teachers, how you pay the health benefits and things of that nature. So the accounting is maybe not as attractive as the content, but it's just as valuable, just as valuable and important. Yes, it's not the whole idea of calling parents may not be something that you want to do, but it's not a nice to have either. It's a requirement. It is a best practice, and we have to make that part easier for our teachers. So I want us to think, I want our principals and teachers to think, broaden the idea of what instructional support is. Instructional support is not just, let me get the content for you. No, instructional support is how do I make the entire job of teaching easier?
I 100% agree with that. And I think one of the questions to ask is, how do we use something new? How do you make it easier to implement? And I think that's kind of piggyback what Haji Ian saying is, one, understanding to help your end user, the teachers and principal understanding from high level overview, what this value for this particular product will bring. Again, it's not just about the content, it's about how the workflow will help them. If you come to a teacher and say, I have a system that will help you save, let's just say 5 hours a week, I think you will be able to gravitate their attention a little bit more than, oh, I have this awesome product that does this and A and B and C. Again, time is very important, especially in the education world. You all wear so many different hats every single day. I don't think you have a clear job description for any position. If you do, please let me know. I would love to visit your school. So with understanding and sometimes to help with your staff and help with the teachers to really see what are the value add, particularly in the time consumption value add that will allow them to do other things, they will be able to do more efficiently. I think that's very important, but at the same time also help them to see the bigger pictures, how that 5 minutes will contribute, 5 hours saving will contribute to the overall workflow. I think that's very important. If 5 hours, particularly one person, one teacher be able to save on a consistent basis, can you imagine number of 20 teachers, number of 30 teachers? But sometimes the teachers are so focused on their individual focus, individual task, they don't understand their impact was just 5 hours on the individual basis. And I think it's important to allow them to also see how that individual impacted to the overall workflows and the process.
Awesome. I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'll jump into some of the questions that we've been receiving in our Q&A. One of the things that I love about this event is that it gives us a chance to come together as educators, as vendors, service providers. You know, we're all here together in one space, learning from one another and sharing about our experiences and our successes. And so I think that as a vendor and a service provider and as a product, you guys have likely taken the time to think about the challenges that teachers have, that educators have, and you've tried to create something to address those challenges. I want to give you guys an opportunity now to maybe share some of the challenges that you have in getting your products in the door at schools, and what does your ideal customer look like, and not just, you know, in terms of them being a school or a school district, but in regards to relationship. What does your ideal customer look like from kind of like front to end, and how they partner with you in utilizing your tools to really make their worlds better? And I didn't tell you guys this in advance, but if you think about it and imagine in a perfect world, what would you want from a school and a partner?
Yeah, I love that question. And I've been working with schools now in a partner capacity for the last, I want to say, I don't know, 8 years or 7 years. And early on, my first experience was as a nonprofit service provider, and now as a tech vendor. And I really came out as the three kind of principles out there. There's the champion principle, which is what I think all of us hope for the most, who sees the potential of the tool and is actively championing it with their staff. To the point where it's ensuring that we have at least the opportunity to implement well. Then it falls on us to do the job well. Mm-hmm. Then there's sort of the absentee principle, who usually has a lot of other things going on, and they purchase the tool because their staff asked for it. And then after that, it's really up to the staff. And so with them, I think it's really important to get a liaison who you know who you're going to communicate with, because not all principals are really knee deep in, for us, the instructional side of things. You know, principals take on different perspectives. And then you have the third group, which I'll call the sort of adversarial principle, where sometimes it's because of how much chaos exists. They might view partnerships as detracting or getting in the way. And obviously that's not what any of us hope to do. I totally understand where the feeling can come from, you know, but for us, especially because, you know, we're a couple of years in, but we're still adding new features and new tools. We obviously would love to find champion principals who see the potential and who really care about teacher support and growth for us specifically. Because it's for the lesson planning and observation process, a lot of times it becomes a compliance exercise where teachers just turn in what they have to turn in. Principals might come through and get, you know, do an observation once a semester. You know, I was observed twice, 1 year as a teacher, and both times it was for 15 minutes during my Jeopardy review game, which wasn't necessarily that helpful for anybody. It wasn't my best teaching, and it was not the best coaching. And so our tool is really for those who are trying to help their teachers grow and develop, and have a really good pulse on what's happening in the classroom each day. Those reflections are going to be they give people an actual look as to like, hey, what is happening in all these rooms every day? As a principal, you're sitting behind your desk in your office, door closed, and even thinking about what's happening is probably giving you anxiety attacks. And so we're trying to open up that line of communication and insight to make it easier to give your teachers what they need, to make it so PD is relevant and not just something you found or heard about, but actually matches what the teachers have been experiencing. And so for us, you know, we're looking for folks who are really trying to grow their teacher workforce and keep them around for a while. I think that's the ideal partner for us right now.
Thanks, Ian. Candy or Haj?
I think our biggest challenge is definitely we're the first of the kind in the industry, and nobody would jump on the wagons when you are the first one. So it took us a little bit longer to be able to successfully launch the products, and we've gone through a longer beta testing stage than we envisioned to be. But I think when you ask a question, the word that came in mind is partnership. that is emphasized for our software, and that's also emphasized for our ideal customers. It's the people who wants to build a long-term partnerships, because financial operations, financial oversight is ongoing process. Compliance changes, regulation changes, your rule changes. Every governor comes on board, you have a different rules. Right now, we have so many care fund grants coming out. We don't even know which one is what and still trying to learn. So our platform is to provide resources and to with updates, with guidance in that capacities. And so our goal is really to looking for someone who's looking for a partnership, not only just focusing on the value add for the time savings, but at the same time be able to have a platform that you'll be able to have a community chat with your fellow folks about questions you have, particularly on the finance. Have a platform where constantly updating the best practice, compliance, rules, regulations for you. Have consultants that link to partners like Ian's, like Hodge, linked with to be able to provide expert opinions and suggestions. I think that is what we're looking for, is a school or individuals that not only just for the short-term gains, but understand the long-term partnership, working with OPUS for the continuations.
Yeah. I just want to agree with both Ian and Candy. I mean, they hit the nail on the head. I really am for the partnership. I want, as a former principal, that is really key, to say, hey, we're not just here selling you a platform or a book and leaving. No, we're here to help you in the long run, because we're all in it for improving our education for our students. Yes, we're a business, so yes, we want to make money, but it's not about the making the money part is actually just the byproduct of helping kids and teachers. So that's what we're all about. But at the same time, we have those challenges like Ian has already outlined as far as different types of principles. But then the second part of it is the challenge of being new, being one of the first, not the only, or being new, I should say. That makes a major challenge for us to having to build a brand recognition in a industry where brand is so very important, where word of mouth is so very important in the education industry. So that was a major challenge for us. So we're looking for somebody that's willing to take that risk, willing to be a little bit experimental and say, let's try it and see what's going on. And then also be that champion there to help along the way.
Yeah, you guys are looking for courageous partners, you know, who,
yes,
who are willing to be brave and be early adopters. And Candy, to your point, you might be the first of its kind right now, but I can share this is probably the best time to take advantage of what you're offering, probably because it may become more expensive down the line, you know, once there's more, you know, maybe even competition, or once you really begin bringing on more partners. I would also say that when you partner with an organization or utilize a product that is the first of its kind, you also get more customized and individual support, because you know the organization and their tools are younger. You begin to be a part of the growth and development of the tools, because you're sharing your experience with using it, and they're beginning to customize it and make changes and updates based on the experiences that you're having as a school. So I think that this would actually be a great time to use and partner with your organizations and your companies. I did see earlier that in the chat, and I don't know, or in the Q&A, and I don't know if someone responded to it individually, but I want to give all of you a chance to respond if possible. One of the ways that you can, Hodge, you may reference to this, but one of the ways that you can sell yourself is by sharing success stories. You know, how has it worked in the past? What is one way that you've really seen your tools create impact and success for the end user? So we'd love to give you guys a chance here to share a success story that you've had with the school or end user of your tools and your products.
Anyone going first? Okay, well, I guess I will. So yes, it's great to hear great feedback from teachers and principals. And one particular instance is when a teacher said that they had to contact a parent and they used us to do so. And that parent responded so quickly, and was first off, the parent didn't respond. The kid responded and said, "Hey, I see you contacted my mom. Hey, I promise I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna promise to get some things done." So that was so powerful for us to be able to quickly do it without that teacher then having to be so burnt out. I gotta do the phone call and use my phone, my own personal number, and then I gotta type it somewhere else. And then so for documentation purposes, it was such a seamless process. And I love to see the smile on their faces when that happens. That little ding, 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 I'm just like, that's music. So that's one of the great things.
I think for OPUS, the greatest satisfaction is that we gain by implementing the software is for internally, our accountant come to us and say, oh my God, now I'm saving 10, 20 hours per school clients per month to do my month-end closing process, my compliance report. And at the same time, you're getting the same feedback from external users. From the school users who actually are using your system, now they are coming to us and say, wow, the compliance report used to take me 10, 15 hours to create. Now it's half an hour. Just click up the buttons, I'm done. So that has been the greatest great award so far, and would continue looking for more of those feedbacks for sure.
Yeah, I think for us, honestly, the first thing that came to mind was maybe the first time I ever got Terra in the hands of our first users. And just because it stands out, like one of the biggest things that I always heard when I started to design the platform, and all three of us know this for sure. It's like, you hear that education is a really hard market. That doesn't mean it doesn't need solutions like every other market. And then also it's like, well, are older teachers ever gonna want to use this? Like older teachers don't like anything new, which also isn't entirely true. It's not like teachers are complete Luddites or anything like that. But I remember when I sat in the first, because we like to go and sit in the first department meetings after we've debuted the product, especially when there's planning happening. And I was particularly interested because it's one of the early ones. And I remember seeing a veteran teacher over in the corner, just like having not really said anything. And I couldn't really read her facial expression. So I didn't know whether she liked the platform or not. And so I went over her and she was clearing out. And I was like, hey, how's it going? Like, is there anything I can help with? Do you feel like you're picking up? She's like, she literally just looks up and she's like, where was this 23 years ago? And I was like, that you are my woman. That's great. That's because like it answers so many questions for me. It's like, okay, that doesn't mean our platform's perfect. Obviously, there's a lot of things we've improved. We're going to continue to improve. But fundamentally, if somebody who's been doing the work for that long can see the value in what we've built immediately and be able to use it, that was like, okay, we have something here. Now it's our job to really get down into the weeds and make it perfect. So yeah, that was a huge win for me just personally, because we all know you put a ton of time and thought into these platforms, and all you want to see is somebody use it successfully and smile and save time. And so anytime you get a chance to do that, that's always the best, even if it's just one teacher.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to take one more question from the Q&A because I do think it's a good one, and it's from a teacher. When we think about continuous improvement, right, Ian, you just said you're continuing to improve your product. This teacher has seen a lot of systems come and go. What are ways that you guys are planning to address getting past like the short term or maybe where we are right now and really looking and thinking about the long-term benefits that can shape education?
I love that question. Being a CFO, being an accountant, strategic planning is the fundamental for everything. So when you create a product or service lines, you're not only focused on the short-term, mid-term, but long-term range. So for OPUS, the greatest vision is if we'll be able to provide quality control by providing guidance services and guidance for from the petition stage to year zero stage to your existing operation stage, then transfer to your renewal and replication stage, the complete eco-life system cycles for your operations. Then if every more schools on board, the better quality we have. The better quality we have, the more time people will focus less on day-to-day operations by utilizing all three of our platforms. the more time they actually be focused on their own strategic plannings. And when you are more focused, a lot of times, one of the reasons we see a lot of high failures or high risk charter schools or school failed, it's because their leadership does not have enough time to do enough strategic plannings. And now this will allow them to leverage platforms like ours to be able to focus on what's most important, which is strategic plannings. So this will not only straining the qualities in the educations, but essentially be able to provide a better solutions for strategic plannings and tools for school leaders. And of course, kids benefit from it. The more school they're existing, the more successful school become, the better education become. And that's totally speak from a mom perspective.
Well, definitely want to echo what you just said, Candy, because the more feedback we get, the more usage that we get, and be a champion for it. For our longevity, hey, you like what we're doing for you, be it 1 teacher, 5 teachers, whatever, 5 different schools, just make sure you just share it with the world. Let everybody know about it. Let your principal know, like, hey, you're bringing them back, right? You know, we want them again next year. Those types of things definitely increases our longevity over time with you all, with different schools. So we won't be one that comes and goes, right? So definitely your usage is really a key thing. Your testimonials and recommendations, referrals, all of those things will definitely help us be products and platforms that you will use and see us forever.
Yeah, I think about 2 things. I think first, you know, on our end, and again, we're all founders here too, and so we know this as intimately as anyone. We really have to make sure that you're working on something that's fundamental to the teaching and school process. Because to this teacher's point, a lot of times platforms come and go because the requirements or expectations that spurred their creation in the first place change, right? And so on the one hand, you've got to really keep questioning yourself of like, are we focused on a thing that's fundamental to the school operating well, meaning leading to great student outcomes? And I would argue even also leading to teacher retention because of that, how big that problem is. And then the second thing I would say is, and we're, you know, you can talk to my team, we do this all the time. I think on our end, you have to be willing to question everything that you're doing because, you know, it's as much about solving today's problem as it is about seeing around the next corner and seeing where the space is going, because half of it is not being able to just come up with a good product, but be able to get there fast enough and do it in the best way. And so, you know, that's just how disruption and innovation works. And so you got to keep up with it. You know, I'll tease this a little bit, but we've got a big new kind of vision for where we're headed and coming out in the next few months. But it's questioning a lot of our fundamental philosophies. But to that point of this teacher, it's because we're looking at the big picture, and you've got to be able to see, if you really care about serving teachers in our case, or serving administrators, or serving schools as a whole, you've got to be thinking ahead about what's fundamental for them. And so, you know, I think that's one of the challenges right now in the space is that not a lot of people realize that teachers have to use all of these things for the most part. Thankfully, they never had to touch OPUS or Candy's financial accounting software. That would have been horrible for me. But you know, in a lot of other cases, teachers have to end up touching every single platform that a school like signs on to, parents sign on to, district officials sign on to. So I think it's just continuing to look ahead and trying to envision where are we going with this. And is this something that's going to have long-term value, regardless of what happens in the broader space? So yeah, I mean, it's tough though. It's certainly not an easy problem, but that's how innovation occurs, and that's why there's a lot of folks who don't make it, and we might be included in one of those one day, or hopefully we will though.
Well, I'm hoping that all of you guys will be included in the list of products that make it, right, make the long run, stick around for the long haul, and are really able to partner with schools and education systems and help to improve ultimately the lives, right, of our kids and the students that we support. So thank you all so much for kicking off this week, kicking off the Atlanta Education Expo. Just a reminder for those of you who are still here, we will have another live conversation this evening at 5 o'clock on STEAM and hands-on learning. So there will be 3 more organizations, mine included, that's going to be a part of the panel talking about our programs that we provide for schools around STEM and STEAM education. The link to that calendar invite is also posted in the chat. And if you're registered, then you'll also get calendar invites in your email and email reminders for those as well. So thank you all so much for joining, and we hope to kind of see you around for the rest of the week. Don't forget to, kind of participate with us online on Instagram and Twitter using the hashtag ATL Expo. And you can find out more about innovative school tools, OPUS and Tara by visiting the education.atl website as well. So thank you all for joining. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So-
Bye.